day after tax season, April 16th. Hey, we're on 7 channels simultaneously: YouTube, X, Facebook,
everywhere.
Take a picture with your phone, the QR code, subscribe. So, lot to cover today. Connor O'Gara, one of the absolute best, Saturday Down South, followed by Jacques Doucet, WAFB Channel 9 in Baton Rouge, Dudley Dawson, Hogfield.net up in Fayetteville, and Vince Ferrara, the sports animal in Knoxville. He'll have a lot to say about Nico and the ripple effects it might have. So, hey, welcome aboard. Let's get started. Connor O'Gara, a busy man. My dad, I was over at my parents in Memphis Monday. Dad and I were watching Feinbaum. I said, I love that guy. He goes, he's definitely an Irishman. And you do a great job. And I'm glad we had a little technical issue there at the beginning. I said, we can't lose Connor. But there was a story that came out a couple of weeks ago about ESPN. Saturday Down South reported it. Rule number 1, they teach you always give credit where the story came from. I believe it came from Saturday Down South. Game day is going in studio from on campus. Your thoughts on that and anything about college football, because you know a lot of what's happening.
I did not hear anything about that, so I'm not following that story.
See, that story was attributed to Saturday, and I said, "There's." Okay.
Did not see that. Did not see that. So if that's the case, I'd be stunned. I have not heard anything about that. As far as I know, College Game Day is still going to be on campus doing its thing, not in studio. Maybe there could be variations of that. But I know Reese Davis just re-signed to a new contract with ESPN and is staying despite the pursuit from Fox, which I think is massive for ESPN, because I think Reese Davis is as good as a point guard as there is in the business, and a really hard thing to do. And there are others. I think Laura Rutledge is phenomenal. I think Dari Noka is incredible at what he does. But I know that was a huge story that came out in the last week. But I didn't hear anything about in studio switches or anything like that. So if that's actually the case, that's news to me.
Yeah, and I apologize. I was just asking you. It was attributed, but again, with AI, there's so much junk out there. And I texted Reese Thursday afternoon about something. I worked with him for 2 years. He is the point guard. Love the guy. He did some of the things that he did. He's a hell of a writer. When he was the anchor, sports anchor, hell of a writer. And you're right about what
just update. I just chased it down, Rob. The story was a story put out about how it was a fake story that was attributed to Saturday Down South. The Spun put out something, and a couple of people put out something, so it got very viral about how game day was ratcheting down. So there you go. Yeah. Sorry,
Potentially.
I don't know. I just found it on I'm using Grok on Twitter. So
yeah, well, exactly. Well, Connor, what's happening right now? You know, you're in Orlando. You're covering football in the South. It's never a quiet time. What happened with Nico? Your thoughts? The ripple effects.
It's a huge moment for college sports because it shows that athletes don't have all the power. And there is a line. Tennessee showed us what that line was. Now, they could have done the path of least resistance and just given into his team and said, we're going to pay a guy $4 million after he led us to our first playoff berth. And we're going to kind of continue to understand that, look, there's a premium put on quarterbacks, but there is a line. And if you don't feel like your guy is worth going over that line, then you don't have to. So I think Tennessee looked at this situation going, look, our roster right now is solid, but it's not a national championship roster. Are we getting beyond the places that we got to last year? Probably not. And can you afford, if you're Josh Heupel in year 5, coming off the best 3-year stretch that Tennessee has had in 2 decades, to potentially say, you know what, we're just not going to go above and beyond and pay that type of money. Let's build up our roster in other ways. And let's find a guy that can just plug and play in this system. We'll figure it out in 2025. And then, hey, we've got still blue chip. We should have 3 blue chip recruits on campus at the quarterback position by this time next year. And then we'll kind of go from there. And then if that means resetting, and if even that means, it's an offensive floor type year, then that's okay. But I do think it's fascinating that a team was willing to stand up to a quarterback's demands and say, you know what? No, like we're not going to do this. And we feel like if you can get that on the open market, all right, fine. But that has since proven to be a little bit of a trickier thing than I think the Iamaleava team expected.
Yeah. Oakley McFerrin is our intern freshman there at Auburn. Kind of into all this stuff we're talking about with Nico. You've got Connor O'Gara, one of the best Saturday down south. So go ahead, Oakley.
Yeah, I mean, I think he hit that on. I think that was what Coach Heupel did was a huge win for head coaches across the country. And like he said, it kind of set the line that, no, the player's not always going to win. I think this goes back to the NCAA mishandling NIL and allowing it to get this out of hand.
Yeah, I think Tennessee, though, is also part of the reason why we've realized the NCAA doesn't have this power. I mean, it was Nico that they went to court for against the NCAA when Tennessee said you don't have the NIL rules in place to actually enforce this. And our recruitment of him was not technically illegal based on the wide variety of parameters that you've laid out for what is NIL. And so that was sort of a landmark decision that made us all go, well, yeah, the NCAA is now powerless in college football. And so it's ironic that these two chapters are part of the Nico Iamaleava story. You know, to think about the NCAA getting to this point, yeah, you know what? Maybe things would be different if there were contracts in place, but there's holdouts in the NFL too. You know, there's still guys that hold out for more money. So I don't even know that necessarily the NCAA could have like if the NCAA could have stepped in 5 years ago and put down something that would have said, hey, these are the guidelines, these are the rules, you know, you guys have a union because that's what ultimately this is going to depend on. I don't even know if that would have taken care of every single case. This feels like a very unique case. And while we do need more guardrails in the sport, I think that the Iamaleava team has messed this up, and they've messed this up because they didn't have the self-awareness that they needed.
You're muted, Rob. Rob, you're muted. Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. Your thoughts on spring practice? Anything that you've seen that maybe that's a surprise?
The DJ Lagway storyline. I know you guys have probably talked a lot about it, but it is interesting to see what awaits with this because I know Matt Hayes, my guy at USA Today, who used to be with us at Saturday Down South. You know, he reported that if they don't see progress with the shoulder, that this could be surgery and this could be curtains on 2025. And what a really, really unfortunate turn of events that would be for Billy Napier when, let's be honest, DJ Lagway saved him his job.
Yeah.
I mean, he saved him his job last year, and he's a huge part of this moving forward. And so they've pretty much laid out the strategy of, look, rest, rehab, 6 months of just not throwing is going to hopefully get his shoulder back to the place that it needs to be. And now this is a guy that worked through an injury last year, worked through having an apparatus on his leg to be able to deal with that hamstring injury, the one that he suffered in the cocktail party against Georgia. Yeah. This was a guy that played through that. Playing through shoulder injury, if it's not right, it's a different story. And so to hear Billy Napier say after a spring game in which DJ Lagway hands the football 5 times and doesn't throw, hey, he's going to be throwing in a couple of weeks. He should be good to go. We're expecting him to be full go for fall camp and everything. That's all well and good. But I'm looking at a receiver room that I wish DJ Lagway could have been able to get on the same page with actually throwing the football. And so I do think it is a loss for Florida that this offseason has gone the way that it's gone. Even if Lagway comes back and is able to be healthy in fall camp, I still think you're talking about a missed opportunity for a team that doesn't have a historically daunting schedule, but 4 of those first 6 games are still going to really push Florida. And if he's not ready to go, or if he's not on the same page as those receivers, that could be the difference in, you know, Napier being able to keep his job or, you know, being one of those guys that's a casualty of the 2025 season.
Yeah. We Mark Long, you know, a couple of weeks ago, or not even about a week ago, was the one that sort of he writes for the AP. Obviously, you know who he is. He's the one that came out on 1010 ESPN and said, you know, this is a problem. This is not something that we should ignore. Like this isn't normal. You want him out there throwing. You want them out there getting timing with these great new speedy receivers. All of this matters, and make no bones about it. DJ Lagway is the difference maker for this team and for 2025. So I think there is more than cause for concern because resting something if you've been around sport long enough, resting something, rehabbing something, and then using something like your arm is, as much as you do, it's just a matter of time if you don't fix it.
Exactly.
And that it's not going to just fix itself, because you're just going to actually make it worse. You're going to, it's going to have to be repaired. And for what we know, this is from high school. So this has been nagging for a while. And I totally agree with you. It's going to be, it really will affect the difference, because I don't think there's adequate backup.
I wonder what this would have looked like if he had gotten the surgery after the Florida State game. And if they had just said, you know what, you're our guy long term. We know that this is going to wipe you out for spring. We know that this could even, trickle into OTAs, depending on what that rehab process would have looked like. But I do wonder where they'd be at right now if that was the step that they took, instead of, hey, we're going to try and get as many of these types of, we're going to get all your bowl game reps, something that I thought was really important for him to be able to get. We're going to give you that bowl game experience. We're going to, go into the offseason knowing that you're the guy. And instead, Florida kind of plays coy with this and is very, hush hush about what's really going on here. And instead, now everybody's kind of going to be waiting on pins and needles. And I don't know that we're going to get really any sort of true insight until fall camp starts, because you can kind of spin it in a lot of different ways of like, oh, he's on schedule, blah, blah, blah. Well, what does on schedule really mean? You guys have your own schedule and everybody wants to be able to see him throw. But yeah, it is, it's a frustrating situation, I think, for a Florida team that knows it's going to take that next step. It's going to be because DJ Lagway looks the part.
Oakley. Yeah.
Yeah. So I had a question about Tennessee. Do you think with their kind of newfound QB room, what is your confidence in going into the season with Jake Klinger as the starter, or do you think they go to the transfer portal and add a starting caliber quarterback?
I think they go to the portal, but the post-spring market is, I don't think it's going to be particularly promising. And think about it. They just said no to the raise for Nico. So if you're trying to, let's call it what it is, tamper, poach, get someone of that caliber, that would be really expensive to do something like that. Now, I think what makes a lot more sense for them would be like a Jaden Davis at Michigan, who knows Bryce Underwood's time is coming. Maybe Mikey Keene coming off the injury. Maybe he's going to be the guy that's going to step into the starting role as QB1 for Michigan at the start of the year. Maybe you go to a guy like CJ Carr at Notre Dame, who could be looking up at Steve Angeli and going, man, year two, I don't know that I want to wait this long. So there could be a roll of the dice there. But the problem is that the learning curve is still steep for these post-spring guys. The history of post-spring transfers at the quarterback position, it's not particularly promising for what they're going to look like in year one. Even Joe Burrow, the first half of that 2018 season, didn't have the full use of the playbook there. And I do think that we kind of overlook how difficult that is. And there's a reason that teams get this figured out at the end of the regular season. So I think it's going to be difficult. I do think they go after someone in the portal. I think they add another blue chipper to that room. And I do think that they're going to try and treat it as a true battle going into fall camp. Merklinger, might be the favorite right now with 9 career pass attempts. And, obviously he's got the advantage of having time in the scheme. But yeah, it's a floor season for Josh Heupel's offense. There's no question about it.
Well, I mean, look, let's be honest, guys. I mean, we're talking more about, a pro model here. Like, I want to see somebody that's got a little bit more than just great high school experience, because I'm going to invest this much money, right? Like, it matters more. We're not going to, I think that's where players maybe don't understand. Like, the more focus, in my opinion, is going to be on the transfer portal now. And why not go and gamble out there, because you don't know what this guy's going to do at this level.
Yeah, there's going to be, I think, some pretty significant movement in the portal, but I don't know that it's going to be at the quarterback position. I think a lot of these guys will get taken care of, maybe as a result of Tennessee, having this uncertainty. But teams get this figured out. They get this figured out at the end of the regular season, because you have to decide where your money's going to go. It's just like with building a recruiting class. You want to get your quarterback signed first, and then have all the other pieces fall in place. And then you can go into, the houses of 4-star receivers across the country and say, this is going to be your quarterback. This is going to be your classmate. This is going to be the guy that you're, being able to develop a rapport with. And here's our selling point to you. So I do think that it's going to be tough. Like, I don't know what that final number is going to look like. Maybe there is a world in which Josh Heupel can find that guy in the portal and it's $1.5 million and they get to 8-4 with a top 30 offense. That would be great. honestly, that would be a great development for Tennessee, especially with all the moving parts that they have on the offensive side of the football. But it's going to be a difficult thing to juggle. And I think Josh Heupel, in an ideal world, wouldn't be in this spot. But also, $4 million for a quarterback of Nico Iamaleava's caliber at this stage of his career just wasn't worth it.
One more question before, I know you got a busy schedule. Oklahoma brings in a new guy, Matei. Auburn brings in Jackson Arnold. Arnold comes out of high school, number 4 player, quarterback-wise in the country, number 10 overall. Who wins that one? And Auburn's got a decent offensive line this year for the first time that I can remember. It's in about 8 years.
I love John Mateer coming over from Washington State to Oklahoma, but I also think he's the biggest wild card in the SEC. I really do. I think if you look at some of his variants of throws, of how many risks that guy likes to take when he keeps plays alive, and he's very different from Jackson Arnold. Very, very different as a player. And I do think Jackson Arnold is a guy that, look, everybody that you talk to just says this guy needed a reset. He went into a situation that looked really ideal at Oklahoma, even though they had the very new offensive line last year. His top 5 receivers were out by the end of September.
Yeah.
That is a really tough thing for a first-year starter to inherit, especially in a new conference where you don't have the familiarity. And all of a sudden, Jackson Arnold was in a spot where he's getting benched before halftime of his first SEC game. Yeah. Brent Venables pulled the plug too early. I mean, a defensive-minded guy got a little bit too micromanagey, overprotective of his quarterback situation and wasn't willing to work through it. And so now he gets to reset at Auburn, and he gets maybe the best receiver room that Auburn's ever had. And that's going to be the positive for Jackson Arnold. He needs to be able to stay healthy. He needs to be able to figure out that timing of what that mental clock looks like when he's back there and he's going through his progressions. It's going to be the biggest thing for him, but the skill set is absolutely there. He throws a pretty ball. He can move. He's got the 5-star tools that you would like. But what's it going to look like with Hugh Freeze year 1 in this offense? That's something that I have a lot of questions about, because Hugh Freeze has typically been more of a year 2, year 3 in the system type of coach. So, yeah, it is going to be fascinating. I think Oklahoma maybe ends up winning the breakup, but I don't necessarily think both guys are setting the world on fire and, competing for an all-SEC spot.
Yeah, it's going to be wild. Connor, let people know how they can follow you. Look forward to having you on. This is a great time of year. And, again, Brenden talks a lot about AI in sports. That is a lot going on, but you put out so much content, and your knowledge of all the SEC schools is off the charts, and love having you on. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, appreciate that. That. Yeah, Saturday Down South, we have lots and lots of content right now related to the portal. So many new developments that are going on. Make sure it's actually Saturday Down South and not just some aggregation site attributing it to us, and then some fake reporters and crap like that. But we do take pride in the work that we put out, and there's a lot of stuff going on right now, so it's a great time to be talking about college football.
First
thing I read every morning. You guys are the best, man. Thank you so much for coming on. You're the best. Okay,
thank you guys.
Connor.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Hey, Oakley, we got Jacques Doucet, WAFB Channel 9 down in Baton Rouge, who has one of the best sets of anybody that comes on here. Sports director, 2-time sportscaster of the year in Louisiana. Anything happening fun down in Baton Rouge? I know spring practice, you get to go to every practice and have a lot of one-on-ones with the coaches. So how much have we learned about LSU going into, believe it or not, year 4 of Brian Kelly?
Yeah, good to be with you, man. For the first time, I think, since I've been here, they've done 2 practices after their big spring event, so to speak. So they did not do a spring game this year. It was more of a controlled spring scrimmage on Saturday morning, and then they had a practice on Tuesday and Thursday, or they got one tomorrow coming up here to close things out. So things have gone well. The weather has been amazing. This is the best time of the year in South Louisiana, where it's not 500 degrees and 500 humidity yet, but we learned a few things. Obviously, the headlines have gotten it's been sad with the death of Kyron Lacey, former wide receiver, that happened, I guess, Saturday evening. That's kind of been the big storyline. Brian Kelly talked about that yesterday.
Yeah, that was horrible news. Horrible.
Yeah, it's a case where there are no winners. It's a very complex story in terms of him being charged with, I guess, a vehicular homicide in Thibodeau, in which he swerved or something happened there that they got on video. There's a 78-year-old former Marine who named Herman Hall, who perished. And, that family wants justice, and Kyron obviously was dealing with that. And, I could talk all about that. I don't know if, but anyway, long story short, both families are now, dealing with the loss. A 24-year-old took his own life. And so that's been a horrific story down here with that. Very controversial. I think the town of Thibodaux, city of Thibodaux, was very divided on what happened with Kyron driving that car and the crash and everything. So I started getting those phone calls on Sunday morning. The mother of a former player called me, and off it went that day. So
yeah. Well, bottom line, it's horrible, and he had so much promise, but the news with LSU, Oakley, you look at LSU, Brian Kelly, they've got so much talent. And I know you've got questions because Garrett Nussmeier is one of the leading Heisman candidates, whatever. But this is our intern, Oakley McFerrin. I think y'all have talked a couple of times before, but go ahead with 2-time Sportscaster of the Year, soon to be 3-time, I would hope.
I could be over the hill. We'll see. I don't know.
Yeah, so with the new additions of Nick Anderson and the speedster Barryon Brown, with it kind of Aaron Anderson in the slot, what's the confidence level in the wide receiver core this season?
Yeah, Oakley, good to see you. I think Nick has been coming back from an injury. We didn't really see him much in the spring scrimmage or whatnot. He's starting to do a little bit more stuff. He's been hobbled the last 10 months, but I do think that he's going to provide them a bigger target in terms of what they're looking for and scoring more points in the red zone. I think that Joe Sloan, the offensive coordinator, has been harping on two big things. We need to run the ball better. We need to score more touchdowns in the red zone. Barryon Brown, I think they're very high on him. We had a chance to meet him and interview him. He seems like a great kid, great leader. And he put up very nice numbers in a Kentucky offense that, was oftentimes not too explosive. So I think they really think that his potential being paired with Garrett Nussmeier now is great. And so there's a lot of new additions. The tight end from Oklahoma, Bauer Sharp, had a chance to meet him as well and talk to him. I was just joking with somebody, you just feel older and older. These college kids call you yes, sir, no, sir. It's just reality, Rob. The real one is when the good looking girls start calling you yes, sir, no, sir. That's a shot to the ego. But anyway, I think his addition, what he'll bring in the passing game, and what he'll bring blocking as well. So yeah, Garrett has been here a long time. This is going to be his 5th year with the program, I believe, and waited his turn behind Jaden Daniels, who obviously won the Heisman and had a nice debut last year, but still threw too many interceptions and things he wants to clean up. But like Rob alluded to, I think he's one of the favorites to win the Heisman Trophy. When they said the same thing about Jaden Daniels, people said, give me a break. Yeah. But we saw what happened. So, I think he needs to run the ball more. That's another thing they talked about. He's not going to rush for 1,000 yards, but there are times where he needs to take off and run.
Well, looking at LSU on the defensive line, especially, that's always been the benchmark, the front 7 on defense. How deep are they? And again, we ask this question to everybody. How can you build depth in the era that we're in right now? It's very difficult.
Yeah, that's the difference between, I think I've told you, the current and say 2011, when LSU and Alabama had these two juggernaut powers that played in the game of the century in Tuscaloosa, which LSU won 9-6 in overtime. And then they played again in the national championship, and Alabama won that one 21-0. But you take a look at the second teamers, the third teamers, those guys made it to the NFL and had careers. Now, nobody wants to wait their turn. Nobody wants to say, hey, I'll play next year. Nope. In the portal, going somewhere else, getting big money. There's a women's basketball player who just left LSU. She was averaging 6 points and 6 rebounds per game. I've got it on good authority. She got $400,000 from Virginia to go join that team. I mean, this is insanity that's going on out there. Good for her. She got it, right? But
I mean, we were hearing that last night with Lauren Meadows, Rob.
Yeah, we were.
It was like minimum $250 to have a conversation or something insane.
Yeah, I mean, I like covering women's basketball, especially since Kim Mulkey has gotten here. It's become a lot more exciting and fun. But it's not a revenue producing sport. You're talking about a sport that loses money, and you're investing big money into people to lose more money. So it's funny.
It was reported to me by somebody in South Carolina last week. South Carolina women's basketball, as strong as they are, lost $5 million this year. It's incredible. Oakley, what would it take for you to visit
LSU? Lost $8.5. Just so you know, $8.5 million we lost over here last year. Go ahead. Sorry.
Oakley.
Yeah, South Carolina had a player, Malaysia Fulali, who's from Columbia, South Carolina, averaged 12 points and left. She wasn't getting enough money.
Yeah. Well, the UCLA went to the Final Four. The whole team said, "See ya. We're all in the portal," and it's not about. It's no longer about. Well, it's been way past loyalty and the team and this and that. It's about how much money can I get. They don't care if you play in a dungeon. They don't care about your facilities. And the thing that you're worried about, I heard this from a coach, is that it's no longer about disciplinarians and coaches and teachers. It's about snake oilsmen and fundraisers, to an extent. And so, I just sat down with Yvette Girard, who you may or may not know. She started the program at USL, the Raging Cajuns. She was the first softball coach and built them into a power. I mean, back then she made she came up with the uniforms. They didn't have any uniforms for the team the night before the game. They didn't know where they were playing. She cut the grass. She was working at her parents' fast food joint while she was also coaching the team. And, all this stuff to come from those humble beginnings to what it is now, where, Skip Bertman used to have the players paint the fits and, like Mr. Miyagi, right? And then go out to the corner and hand out the schedules and stuff. You can't ask me to do that now.
Oh, Urban Meyer used to make him run in the parking lot and do wind sprints until like the end of the day. I mean, those days are gone.
Well, I don't know if they're gone. I think the kids, and talking to some coaches, the kids want to be Oakley, for your example, you had tough coaching in high school. You don't respond to anything other than tough coaching. I don't know how you're going to get any better. I think too many of the adults are pulling back, and that's why we have the problems. I mean, Oakley, your thoughts? You're the intern, the resident.
Yeah, I think we kind of just saw, like with Nico. I don't think that was actually him. I think that was his team and his parents and whoever he has working for him. Yeah. So I don't think, like, these kids, everyone, the best comes out of everyone when you coach the hardest and you got competition and all that. So, and I think most kids that make it to this level are competitors.
Yeah, I've heard the horror stories of parents taking all their kids' NIL money. I've heard of athletes going to the coaches and saying, "Can you open me an account?" So my parents, and well, you're 21, you're technically an adult, you can do that on your own. But
well, this is where we hope the collectives were going to come into play and help out and like be the guiding force in all this, which is not really seemingly turning out to be.
I was at a meeting in Birmingham when a collective was started back in December of 21.
Yeah, at
an SEC school, and I couldn't believe the conversation was asked out loud. Was, well, we can provide people to do your tax work, and but most of the adults were like, well, we'll take care of that. Yeah. Yeah, and it's all going to be above the board. I mean, it's a disaster, and I think the Nico thing was we need more of these crash and burns to try to reset the market. I mean, Oakley's right; these guys are all competitors, and the women are too. And forgetting about that. I mean, Kim Mulkey, you want to go scrap with her?
And I'm never a fan of the coaches can leave anytime they want. So it's like, well, Kim Mulkey's had 3 jobs since 1985. Okay. And her first job she was probably getting paid, I don't know, $25,000 a year, $35,000. The adults have proven themselves over time, moved up the ladder and have proven, like Brian Kelly left Notre Dame for LSU. Yeah. After 12 years at Notre Dame, this thing about kid playing 4 different schools in 4 years and all that. I don't know, man. I mean, I guess we talk out of both sides of our mouth because LSU baseball won a national championship largely because of Paul Skeens from the Air Force 1 year. Tommy White from North Carolina State 2 years. Angel Reese comes to LSU from Maryland for 2 years. Alexis Morris was a huge part of LSU women's basketball national championship. She played for 4 teams in 4 years. So it has created a new excitement, a new season, a free agency season. Oh, who's LSU going to get? That kind of thing. But at the same time, the days of the 3-year, 4-year player are really going out the window at one school.
Yeah. And you think about TJ Finley when you talk about a player.
Yeah.
Who's he going to play for this year?
Tulane. But he just got suspended because he bought a car that was stolen, apparently off of Facebook, whatever. Yeah, we covered TJ Finley. We LSU, Auburn,
Texas State, Western Kentucky,
and Tulane. That's 5. Lindsey Scott, great kid, great parents, everything. But he LSU, East Mississippi Community College, Missouri, Nichols, Incarnate Word. That was 5. He went 5 too. So it is happening.
I mean, soon it's going to happen with fraternities. Well, I was an SA this year. Next year, I'm a Pike. It's just insane, man. Jacques.
How could you be a Kappa Sig? You said you were a Sigma Nu. How could you do this to it?
Well, they gave me 3 cases of beer, and it was just too much to turn down.
Hey, at least you're not a guy trying to be a Delta Zeta. I mean, there's a whole nother level we can go with this. So.
All right, Jacques. I know you've been up since late last night. Let people know how they can follow you, because you're a constant. Again, we got some awesome guests like Dudley Dawson, Hogville.net does the same thing. You're constantly putting out a lot of stuff on X. Did your account, by the way, Dudley, follow this, and Oakley, didn't your account have a problem, your Twitter account?
Yeah, they got me one day running around not thinking straight. I got a DM, a message that appeared to come from X itself, saying that I had infringed upon some copyright, which was very believable. that sometimes you have music playing in the background or something, and it's like so there was a link in there said you're in danger of losing your account. Before you know it, I clicked something, and like that, my account was gone. I had lost it, and I didn't have it for 4 months. And finally, a friend of mine named Cody Worsham, who worked in LSU Sports Information, he now works for USC. He said, I know somebody over there. Maybe I can help you. And it was amazing. That afternoon, it just flew by. I got the account back. But Elon, this is not a political comment, but apparently since Elon took over the platform, he slashed the staff. It's like you might as well put a message in a bottle and throw it into the Gulf of Mexico, what do we call it? Anyway,
whatever it is.
And
America.
Yeah. So I lost the account, and I was joking. I was like, look, a local peon like me, it took me a long time to hustle and bustle to get 91,000 followers on. I'm not Kim Kardashian. I can't come back, take a bikini picture. Hey, I'm back. And then I got my 10 million followers back. Yes. That's not how it works.
Yes. Well,
dude got dodged.
We just tweeted the show and tagged you in the retweet. So there you go. So now we can all be simpatico in the Twix space, as Rob calls it. Twitter, X, Twix.
Yeah. Well, Jacques, I want to tell you, you are absolutely welcome anytime. Love having you on. I know you got a crazy schedule, but again, how they can follow you, and let's do it again next week.
Yeah.
Go Tigers.
Coach O, I think he's still getting paid till December of this year. Still, nice supplements coming in for Coach. And I'd like to sit down and talk with him. I think his gag thing is up soon. Like, I'm sure he signed something when he left LSU, and I don't know if he's ever going to talk or whatever. But anyway, at Jacques Doucet, like my name there on the screen on Twitter, and then go to our WAP YouTube page. If you're an LSU fan, I do one-on-one interviews with coaches and athletes all the time. So check that out.
Absolutely awesome. Love it. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
All right, sir. Appreciate you.
All right. You bet. Oakley, you see what's going on here, and Dudley Dawson, Hogville.net. Brenden has been talking a lot about AI and what's happening. Stories are being tagged. I can tell you there was a story one time on a stock called Emulex, which was the leader in broadband internet, Brenden. and somebody, a 15-year-old kid, it was found out, had posted something about earnings, and the stock lost $2.6 billion that day. And I think only thing that happened to the kid was his parents sent him to his room for the night, and he probably did it again. But insanity. But let me say real quick, Winter Timber Outdoors, folks, Athens, Alabama. Hey, Oakley, check out the new store. Give me a picture. Take some photos sometime this week for next week's show. New store out on Interstate 85 in Auburn. Should open up in June. Open every day of the week. All your hunting gear for the outdoor life. Winter Timber Outdoors. Dudley, say hello to the intern. What advice would you give an aspiring guy in sports management, sports writing, other than go do something else? I'm kidding. That's what everyone always says is go find gold. But you love it, and you're one of the best.
Well, I appreciate that. What I'd tell him is to keep on doing what he's doing, because I've been around him enough now on this show and listening to you to know that he's doing things the right way. And basically that's the number one thing. Don't take the easy way. Do things the right way, and don't worry about what people think about you.
And plausible deniability. And,
absolutely.
And never give up a source.
All right.
That's right. That's right. Oakley, what's I know you got to go to class here in a second. What are some trending topics that you're seeing on social media? He is at Busch Stadium right now. That's his backyard.
Yeah. He was at the Masters last weekend.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you can tell. That's a Lego thing I built there.
Yeah. What's the name of the jet? What do you call it? The Hogback Express, or is it you got to fire up the jet to go to all these places you're at?
The Tyson Express.
Absolutely. Yeah. Hey, John. It's what I call it. Hey, John.
That's right. Oakley, social media is big. Any trending stories that we're seeing, and then we're going to get to Dudley and Vince, and we'll let you. Yeah.
One that surprised me a little bit with Alabama was Ryan Grubb actually coming out and saying in their quarterback battle that if it was tomorrow, it'd be Ty Simpson, which kind of tells me that has a confident lead. And I really thought Keelan Russell would make a deep push for that position. And maybe it might be a Graham Mertz, DJ Lagway situation where halfway through the season, Keelan Russell comes in because they're really high on Keelan Russell and they think he's the next Bama great quarterback.
Yeah, well, it's going to be fun to watch. Oakley McFerrin, the intern, Eagle Scout, Man of the Year. Take care. And next week we're going to get into some serious spring practice, but take some pictures of the new Winter Timber store out on Interstate 85. We'd love to see you.
Yes, sir. Right. Thank you. Love having it.
You bet. Hey, Vince Ferrara, the sports animal in Knoxville. I saw him.
He's rebooting.
I did. Okay.
Rebooting. Yes.
Dudley. Let's call those hogs from Busch Stadium.
That's what they do when they take off.
That's right.
No, that's what they do when they land.
Oh, yeah.
No such thing as a bad landing.
Hey,
not a crash, I guess.
What you got? Number one or two baseball team in America right now. It's spring practice. What's going on in the portal? Because every time you eat a chicken tender, what you're really doing is you're calling the hogs.
Yeah,
you drink Tyson chicken tender.
You drink a tusk of beer and eat a chicken tender from Tyson. That's your main two sponsors. Yeah.
That's the sacrificial.
Well, you mentioned the few things there. The softball team's also number 7 in one poll, number 10. I mean, things are going pretty good around here. We'll see. Here comes the portal, and they want to add a few more defensive guys. Probably not that many offensive guys. They feel pretty good with where their offense is. Going to add a few defensive guys, but I guess the big thing you don't really what you want to add. Now you got to figure out what's going to leave you because they didn't get to play enough or didn't see their future enough during spring practice here. So that'll be the thing to me. I always talk about that the last third of the roster. We'll see what the last third of the roster looks like when this portal period is over.
Yeah. Well, I can't help but talk about baseball. I know you're a Cardinals, a Cowboys, and a Celtics fan. Thought about that? Cowboys with a C, Celtics with a C, Cardinals with a C, CCC.
Factory. Yep.
Now, if you had a ranch, that would be your brand.
Absolutely.
3 C's across the ass. Yeah.
What was that kid on Yellowstone, Jimmy? It was so annoying.
Yeah.
We just kept waiting for Audrey kept going, maybe a bull will step on
You
him.
didn't like Jimmy? I like.
I thought Jimmy came.
He was a pretty good guy.
Like he grew up and came through it and got a nice little gal there.
I
like
up in
Rip.
Texas,
I
got
like
out of that nightmare. He was like, I gotta go.
I like Cole Hauser as Rip. I mean, that's more like Brendan's kind of like
Jimmy's. I'm kind of like Jimmy. I'm like,
you're more like Rip.
I'm gonna meet the cute girl, and I'm going to Texas.
Yeah,
Lainey Wilson or whatever. Yeah, she's big on Ford right now. Landers Ford.
I
Lainey
know.
Wilson.
That's why they should give me a car because
Yeah,
I should hang out with her and drive around in a car from Ford. I could take her on a date or something.
Yeah.
She only rides with guys. She can be in a 4x4 by you though.
Oh, I know, but I am in Ocala. I could borrow one, maybe
4x4 by you. I love it.
Oh, I don't know what that is.
God, look at that background.
Not redneck. I know he really improved your green skin game. I'm
really
pretty
have.
impressed. You kind of look like you're you're about to call the game.
Yeah.
Hey, we're down here in preseason. It's going to be a barn.
Hey,
the Cardinals scored 9 Tuesday, but only scored 0 yesterday. So
what would Mike Shannon do about the 7th inning? Remember, Dudley? Ice cold Anheuser-Busch. I mean, Shannon, as he got older, got really better, but the stories took a little longer. You know who else is from the Hill up in St. Louis? Joe Garagiola.
Absolutely.
God, I when I went away to college, I would listen to KMOX, AM 1120 from St. Louis, down on Laclede's Landing. I think it was downtown, and go to Union State. That's a great city. Dudley, hopefully Vince can reboot and come back. Give us a report right now. Any big news in the portal, football-wise, for the Razorbacks?
Oh, they're going to have some guys coming in this weekend. One's cornerback from Stanford. As I said, they want to add a few pieces. They feel pretty good about what they brought in, and we're here during spring practice. And again, as we've talked about, almost every person that they got out of the portal and they got from high school were all here. And that's become a norm thing that, I think they have an opportunity to really tell what they had here. And now they're going to go out and try to do the buffet thing. I'll take some turkey and dressing over here, some mac and cheese over here, and don't necessarily have to order off the menu.
Yeah. Well, it's quiet over in East Tennessee in Knoxville. So Vince, if there's any stories in Knoxville that are waking up the world, tell us about it. Good morning, Vince. And as always, thank you for sharing your time. Same for you, Dudley. It means the world to us. I get so many texts from people. They go, where do you find these guys? We were talking, by the way, about Jimmy Himes on the Buddy Martin show. I was on with Lauren Meadows last night. And Kevin Skarbinski, who's on our channel with his show, Scarbo Knows, interviewed Jimmy Himes yesterday about the Nico situation. And I said, Jimmy Himes is like, Buddy Martin, Tony Barnhart good, and, Dudley Dawson good, true grit journalist. And I said, Jimmy, when he semi-retired, I said, how are we going to find someone to cover Tennessee like you? And he goes, I'll give you 2 words. I said, yes, sir. He goes, Vince Ferrara. He gave you he dubbed you, I dubbed the sidelines correspondent for the Big Orange, checkerboard, orange and white. How you doing?
Appreciate it. I'm good. Yeah.
Coffee's rocking.
While as soon as I got my internet back, I jumped.
You got to pay for it, man. You got to pay for it.
I know, this is true. I jumped on Google.com and was just like looking for something to talk about with Tennessee, and came up with NICO. So unbelievable, just the way we have gotten here to this point with Tennessee moving on from Nico after all the drama of him asking for more money and then holding out from Friday's practice, no contact with the team or anything like that. And when he decided to skip practice, that took the fans to another level who were already mad at him when they heard he wanted more money in the portal. And then that was when Josh Heupel and the team made their decision to move on. And what's crazy is Thursday night, before the story first came out that they were looking for more money, the quarterbacks, including Nico, were at offensive coordinator Joey Halsley's house eating tacos and having dinner all together with the Halsley family. And the quarterbacks, like, they couldn't tell anything was up. So crazy how we got to this point that Nico was wanting so much more money and is no longer a part of the team. And Josh Heupel pointed to a leadership position, man. You cannot be a leader of this team and one that really was working on that and skip practice for whatever reason and then hit the portal. He could have handled it so much better. This is a tale about bad advice from people around these kids. And that's what certainly it seems like with Nico Iamaleava, who's now in the portal, by the way, with a do not contact tag, which is another little interesting twist to all this.
Just added that lately, didn't he?
Right.
Do not disturb.
Yeah. Hey, I tell you what's interesting. It seems to me it's a generational thing. The older guys like me who have come up to me to talk to me about this are like, I'm so glad they let him go, this and that. Younger guys have come up. He's just trying to get his, trying to get his bag and all that. And I'm like, go away. It's always going to be, and I know the new landscape of college athletics, but it's always going to be about loyalty to me, not going behind people's back. I've never met the Madden and Nico's parents. I hear they get a lot of criticism. I don't sit here and judge until, I have accurate things that I've seen, but boy, that sure seems like when you say people around him that, it's interesting. We're all sitting around here at Arkansas knowing that right now, Mad's third string quarterback, wondering how this is going to work out. So, that's one of the more interesting things. As soon as it happened with Nico, we had a scrimmage, and I wasn't there that day because my wife is crazy and runs marathons, and I went to watch and support her. But and by crazy, I mean fantastic and wonderful. Yes, and all of that, it is probably one of the bigger stories up here. Everybody just waiting around to see if anything happens with Madden and all that. The only problem there is he hasn't played yet, and obviously didn't play senior year in high school, so he's got a lot to prove to try to ante up the situation, I guess.
Well, he didn't play senior year of high school because they tried to transfer during the year. And then they were ruled ineligible, which you have to recognize that situation. Mm-hmm. So it cost him there. And then obviously the signing day flip. So
the tight end, with his buddy, the tight end. So
that's exactly right. Yeah. So everyone has said that's reported on this story has said that Nico's dad is the one that is the one calling the shots on this. And he's got an advisor as well, who's not an official agent. David Ubben says that he didn't have an official agent, which might be part of the problem. In them, really, they overplayed their hands on what the leverage they felt like they had was. The market obviously has gone up since he had that original deal. He was the face of NIL when it first started with the $8 million deal. And then Tennessee fought the NCAA to keep him eligible. And then that opened the door. Because they won that lawsuit, they were able to high school players were able to get those NIL deals coming into college across the board. And then another factor is, and fans, reporters, I hear this all the time, guys, is, well, Nico doesn't deserve that money. He was average. He's not that great. You don't deserve that money. You know who deserves the money is who can get it. Mm-hmm. Because the NIL was set up, and Rob, this being in the business world, the NIL was originally set up when this was proposed to reward players that were playing well, successful, productive on the college level, and getting a piece of the revenue being generated by these universities, getting a piece of the pie for what they were doing, and reward them with either jersey sales or autographs or other licensing on video games, things like that. That was the original concept. Because they didn't put any guidelines or rules on it, it didn't play out that way. It's pay for play. So now, if you're a high school player, you're making more than all conference players. If you get in the portal and make yourself a free agent, you can get more than guys that are successful that are probably better than you. It's just whatever you can get. You can get out of deals whenever you want. It's the system that's messed up. Now, I still think they overplayed their leverage that they thought they had, and then the way Nico handled it, whether it was his call, his family, whatever. You can't approach it that way. But it's not about what the best player in the NFL isn't always the highest paid player. It's just the next guy to get his deal. So just a little reminder for those that say, well, you're not worth it. You only did this, this, and this. Well, if you can get it, you can get it. And I don't think he's going to get it from the portal, but we'll see.
Well, the frustrating thing is that, if you want to make the wrong decision, ask everyone.
Right.
And that's what's going on. Like I've dealt with people before where in-laws were in the room who were not on the account complaining that we only got a 16.7% return on something. And I said, you do know that your father-in-law and mother-in-law are in their 80s. We're not going to put them in high-risk stuff. And it goes back to what my estate planning attorney, Barry Blackman, rest his soul, used to say, watch out, because in-laws can turn into outlaws real fast when money's involved. And so both of y'all, Dudley, I think it's going to be fun. I say fun, interesting to watch with Madden Iamaliava, because he's now going to be, everybody's going to be going, when's he going to pull this stuff? That's what, and fair or unfair. And Vince is right. If I got an 18-year-old kid and can get that kind of money, now mine are 24 and above, but I'd lock that stuff up. But I would recommend.
You're right.
They can do what they want because they're adults.
Yeah, the best thing you said was to know about the leverage you have, and if you've got two quarterbacks that I guess they like, I'm sure they're trying to go out and get another one too, just for depth purposes and all that. But I have a philosophy, and the philosophy should extend to athletes and agents and lawyers and all that. One of the reasons I have a very successful marriage is because I love my wife. I outkicked my coverage, married above my head, but also, and she knows this, and she'll laugh with me about this, is I know when it's time to punt on third down.
Yes.
I know that if I'm going to continue to be successful in this marriage the way I want to, you have to pick your spots. And what is happening in college athletics and happened at Tennessee and what happened many other places, and this is just the tip of it. I mean, we're about to roll here. Agents and lawyers and parents and all that better watch, because they can turn an entire fan base against their kid. The way this is going. But you better know when to punt on third down, literally and figuratively, in college athletics now. And that's when you're both the player and the administration. I applaud Tennessee for what they did. They took a stand, and we'll see how it works out for them. But as an older fella, I like principles.
Yeah, I do too. Vince, your morning show must be crazy. By the way, I've got a T-shirt from my wife who was Evolve for Life here in Memphis Monday, and it's got Smokey the Hound, Tennessee stuff on the front, and it's called Smokey Show. I'm like, I think everybody's kind of cheering a little for Tennessee because this happened. Not that we're against people making money. It's just that when Josh Heupel said, nobody's bigger than the power T.
Mm-hmm. Including himself.
Yeah. I think I've heard that all my life from coaches. My hero growing up, Shug Jordan at Auburn, he said, ain't none of us bigger than Auburn. I don't care who you are. None of us bigger than Auburn. That's how they say it in South Alabama and South Georgia. Auburn. I can't get a spelling on that, but go ahead, Vince.
Yeah.
There's a W in there, I think.
Can we get a vowel for 50?
Both of you mentioned the praise that Tennessee has gotten and for taking this stance. And look, it's beyond just the money aspect of it. That was a big factor in saying, no, you're not going to hang this over a head, and we're not going to give in to you, because how do you go back to the rest of the team who's now going to want more money if you're just going to give in to those demands? But what really took this over the top, and some national outlets that are discussing this now, because it is a good topic and has so many branches to it for everybody to talk about. Dudley, you mentioned in your local market with Madden, that's a tie-in, but it's something throughout the entire league, throughout all the country they can talk about. But what they're leaving out is a lot of them are presenting this story as, yeah, Nico Iamaliava wanted more money and Tennessee didn't want to give it to him, so he went to the transfer portal. Well, you're missing a big piece of it. is he was basically college football's first holdout, and he skipped a practice. And you guys mentioned the leadership aspect of it earlier. That's a massive thing for the quarterback position. You are held to a higher standard as the leader of this team. So he can't do that. How do you bring him back if he's just skipping practice because whether there was a theory out there that he was just doing a mental recovery, from trending for 24 hours, or because he wanted more money. However you do it, you can't just skip and not talk to your team, not talk to your coaches. Heupel, after the spring game, still hadn't talked to or heard from Nico, and he probably won't now. And they had a great relationship. So how do you get to that point and then go back to your team and expect them to have discipline and not ask for more in the portal and take those kind of stances? So that's the thing that took it to another level in Tennessee making that decision. It wasn't just, Tennessee didn't want to pay him. So that's another reason why Tennessee is looking good from a PR standpoint with what they did.
And I agree. And here's
I just wanted to say before don't you guys think that there's a line in the sand with coaches and anything else? There's a point where you have to just say, look, I can't do this.
Yeah.
Like I because I'm going to lose the locker room. I'm going to lose everything.
Right.
But if the good coaches know the Lane, what was it year before, Lane Kiffin in his office and the recorded conversation of the kid coming in there and he's, there are certain ways you're going to have to still, whether he goes or not, what they say, to really love somebody, you have to let them go. Right. So it's I don't know. I mean, maybe there's something to that.
Yeah. You talked about the locker room there. I'll bring it back to the previous season at Arkansas when KJ got a ton of money and a car, and his offensive lineman, and you can validate this by several different sources, the reporting and all that. They were not happy that he was basically styling and profiling, I guess, to go back to Ric Flair and all that. And they were getting free lunches at Wright's Barbecue, which, by the way, is fantastic. Love them. Right. I do an NIL deal with them myself. If they want to, shout out to you guys. But that just became a problem. And, if you don't have your offensive line and your quarterback in working together, you're going to have, a 4-8 season in which, everybody's upset. That's exactly what happened here last year. And I don't go out and make a lot of declarative statements. That was one of the biggest things last year, because that was a good to very good offensive line, but it just wasn't a cohesive thing. And part of that had to do with the allocation of assets. Yeah, I think.
Well, my dad just texted me something. 96-year-old grandbob watching the show, and he said, "Boy, people only see the decisions you make, not the choices that you had." And I think there's a lot of truth in that. Buddy Martin from Ocala, Florida, Brenden's fourth generation Gator. Welcome aboard, buddy, down on the Panhandle in L.A.
I don't want to disrupt this fun conversation that's going on here. I'm just at the last minute mention this to your producer, and he insisted I come on and talk about it. I must say that, however, I'm not that informed about it, and I'm only going to say that somebody else broke it first, but there was a story this morning, if I can still find it, about Florida getting a new basketball assistant coach. Was broken by the Florida Basketball Hour. He's a guy, if I can find the story, he's a guy who coached up in New York before, I think, NYU, and he also has big in analytics. So Todd Golden is going to be replacing some guys on his staff, I'm sure, because as you guys know, when you do win a national championship, things happen. Like Alex Condon declaring for the draft, but I think, and it's hard to keep up with the landscape, guys. As you know, we got a new. They say the deal is practically done, and that he'll be coming to Florida. And I don't know the man except to say he's a big analytics guy. And as you guys know, if you followed the national championship this year, certainly he's been big on analytics. It worked out well for him. So I do. However, I wanted to know, as some advice from you guys too, if I could. I think I can get more money, and I was calling Tennessee to find out if I could renegotiate with them. What do you guys think?
Vince, take it away.
Maybe it's not the best time right now.
They love you. Just don't hold out, buddy. That's what'll get you. That's what'll get you the clear no. They love you, but yeah, they're not doling out that extra money yet.
Come to practice. Make sure they don't have to put an APB ad on you.
That's right.
Look, I mean, look, it's. I feel sorry for the kid in a way because he got some bad advice, Vince. You know that, and testing the market, right? I don't know, and I hear Tulane has dropped him now. I don't know that he'll be playing college football. Like someone said, the best thing he could go back and get on his hands and knees and beg Tennessee to come back and play for $100,000. It's difficult now, Vince. I know you're a big money guy. You have big deals all the time going on, and I'm not sure about Dudley, but he's been doing it a long time. So I think, and Rob, you're the money guy. You're the guy who advises money people.
Yeah.
What do you tell your client right now if he was promised some money? I don't know who he was, but you know more of that than I do. And they said they'd get back to you, and a year later we don't have it. And what would you tell your client to do?
If you don't have it in writing, you can't do any fighting.
Well, it didn't have it in writing, but
Yeah.
you did. But that's a good slogan. If you don't have it in writing, you can't do the fighting.
Yeah.
But the fact is, you're a money guy. What do you tell your client?
I can promise you, compliance, continuing education, we're taught that. It's drilled in our brains every day. If you don't have a written contract, you have nothing except, he said, she said, that type of deal. And
So you
we know
tell
how
me
that usually ends up.
tough luck, right?
Yeah. And then they just do some kind of settlement, but it ain't what you want.
But there's no settlement. It's over. He's
I
out.
know.
It's
That's what I'm
finished.
saying.
So you can't hold out, Vince, if you don't have a contract.
Yeah, and look, he hit the portal anyway, which he was probably going to do anyway. If he wasn't going to get the money, he was going to hit the portal. But he could have saved himself a whole lot of trouble in looking better for other potential suitors, and looking better for the National Football League. I talked to a scout yesterday about a current NFL scout about the Vols in the upcoming draft, and also asked him about Nico. Does this impact him for the NFL and raising a red flag? And they said, yeah, because of the family involvement. You want to know about that? The decision, there's still, it's not like he was a surefire first round pick anyway. And now you add question marks on top of that. That's not good business long term, which should be his biggest driving force for him and his family. So just so many missteps and misjudging of leverage in this whole situation.
How about Dan Lanning came out of this looking pretty good, didn't he?
Yeah.
He did.
Yeah.
He
Yeah,
did. Helped a brother out, didn't he?
Mm.
Yeah.
If that is true, but yeah, they were shopping him. And look, this isn't the first time that Nico is looking for more money. Numerous people, Chris Lowe and others, reported Trey Wallace that he was trying to get more money in the winter. And guess what? Had he hit the portal in the winter, he'd be in a different leverage spot than he is now, when a lot of these teams already have their starting quarterback positions already settled. Maybe some of them would look at Nico and say, well, he's more talented than our guy. But are we going to rock the boat from a culture standpoint in that room by bringing Nico in? What's it cost? And then can you get him ready for the season in just a couple of months? That isn't a guarantee either. So, by the way, in the family aspect being involved too. So it just doesn't put him in a leverage position when he was playing the leverage position. Even Mario Cristobal at Miami was talking about that. If you're going to play that pay up game, play the get out game, because we're not doing that here in Miami.
Yeah, the problem is you've got 25 people. Like when Tua was at Alabama, I heard when Coach Saban would have to go out. Remember, the whole family moved from Hawaii, as Coach Reed used to say, Hawaii to the Birmingham area, and they got him a job, and he didn't like it, and he wanted another job. And every time Saban went over there was a luau going on. It was. I'm telling you, I know more than you think. And I know we all do. We can't say, but I'm telling you, Dudley, I would like to ask you this. When I was at Fayetteville back in October over at the Sigma Newhouse, and I heard about the generosity of, I think, John Tyson, what he did for that Sigma Newhouse, which is literally 50 feet from the football stadium. You can't get any better. you're not going to go tell John Tyson or Warren Stevens, who's worth over $7 billion in Little Rock, what to do. And they're also not going to throw money at this thing. But here's my problem with NIL. When KJ Jefferson got his last payment, ACH, to his bank account from Armor Bank, he left the next morning. And Buddy's over there about to explode because, look, your honor is dearer than your life. Call me old school or whatever, but that's a big ass deal, Dudley.
And you talk about leverage. I account both Warren Stevens and John Tyson as friends of mine, but I know my role. I know my place.
Yeah.
I don't tell them what to do. If they ask me a question, I answer it, but I don't say, you should do this, you should do that, because I'm a thousandaire. I'm a thousandaire. I'm not a millionaire, not a billionaire. I'm a thousandaire. So thousandaires don't tell millionaires and billionaires what to do. Yeah. And, but if they ask my advice, I certainly have given it to them over the years. It's one of those things that you again, I think we all go back to knowing where your place is. And I think the Nico's camp, what got over their skis, I guess is the way to put it.
Buddy, I want to say this about Dudley said something that, and you being a true grit journalist, Dudley's like, yeah, I'm an Arkansas grad, but I'm not a fan, and you as a longtime writer, I was talking to a guy named Harper LaBelle who played college football at Colorado State. He's our age. I'm going to be on his show today in Atlanta. It's a podcast he does with Vincent Turner called 100 Yards of Football. And he remembered you, of course, from Denver. He's from Los Angeles, not L.A. But, buddy, you know the difference in being a graduate. You played baseball at Florida, but you'll lower the boom when it needs to be. But we need people like all three of y'all to never retire.
Well, the one thing that Brenden probably has on us, it probably at some point in his 20-year career as a great caddy, for which he was on national TV on his show, by the way, he probably did tell John Tyson what to do because he's a member of Castle Pines. Tyson, and they put a lot of money in Castle Pines, that beautiful golf course in Colorado. Tysons are well known a lot of places.
I will never, ever tell a story, and I'll never, ever reveal anything about anybody I ever caddied for. That's all I'm going to say.
We have pretty much of a who's who there. Anyway, so he did that. I want to make sure I correct one thing, if I may, and make sure the story that Brenden mentioned is my fault. I told him that this just came out. It was not broken. It was done by a site called the Florida Basketball Hour. Very good people. They're smart. They said Florida is finalizing a deal to add Dave Klatsky to Todd Golden staff. Klatsky led revival at NYU, going 68-16 as head coach, and taking the Violets, to the D3 Tiger title game. Who could answer that name? But anyway, so he's has an analytical mind with strong ties to elite Northeast U.S. hoop circles. Klatsky would be successful in many walks of life. Happens to be a terrific basketball coach. So there's that. Also, it's a very important day this weekend. Somebody turns 80 years old, and it's not me. A guy that you will not hear much about or from. Steve Spurrier is 80 this weekend.
Wow.
And I think Brendan's got a picture someplace of he and Jerry. And I talked to him earlier in the week. He's a very happy camper. You guys know him pretty well up in Knoxville, I know. And I thought about Steve Spurrier. What if he had not come to Florida on that spring day in 1963 or 2, whatever year it was, when he came there and decided to stay at Florida, go to Florida. Tennessee was running a single wing during those days. He was not a single wing quarterback. He runs about a 12-flat 100-yard dash then, but he could sure fling the ball. And it was a beautiful spring day. I think on that day in Knoxville, it might have been 48 or something. It was like 84 in Gainesville. Steve played the golf course in there. And by the way, he played that golf course again this week with his friend. Still there. I said, how much better can it get for a guy, when he goes to a place and he wins the Heisman? They named the stadium after him. He's happy. He's got a very successful, huge successful restaurant. Now his son is coaching as an analyst for Billy. He's doing the work, I think, with quarterbacks, wide receivers, Steve Jr., and he's got like 8 kids. So Steve's grandkids are all there. Anyway, happy birthday to Coach Spurrier. I asked him what are you going to do. He said nothing. He said, 80, 40, 74, 75, they're all pretty much the same. I said, Steve, I got to say, life has been good. Life is good for you these days. He said, buddy, life has always been good for me.
Yeah.
So
Life is great. I mean, Vince, you grew up in Tampa, Dudley in Newport. That's the weather in the South is very attractive for us. I mean, I'm with you, man. You're 80. Hey, he's 80% of the way to his goal. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah. Hey, Vince, you're my homeboy down there. I was there for a number of years in St. Pete before you were.
Yeah.
Sports Center of a fine paper called then the St. Petersburg Times.
Oh, yeah.
And you probably heard of it, and now called Tampa Bay Times. And then the famous Tom McEwen was a very good friend. You've heard his name. He's been long gone. He, of course, Steve's good friend as well. So, yeah, we know the Tampa area quite well. And congratulations on all your success.
Well, I appreciate that. Always great to talk to you and do radio with you. Definitely read a lot of Tom McEwen and those legends. A lot of longtime broadcasters. There's some still that are there from when I was growing up. So it definitely is special. So glad you were a part of that.
Vince, I know you got to go to a meeting and we'll wrap up, but you do a great TV show as well. We talk about, let people know all the ways they can follow you. We'll retweet you, retweet us. We're all in this thing together, but always appreciate your time, Dudley's, everybody that's been on this show.
Yeah, always an honor to be on with all you guys, class acts, and appreciate the opportunity at Vince Sports on all the socials, VINCE Sports. And then our website, 991thesportsanimal.com, has podcasts of our morning show, 6 to 9 a.m. Eastern time that John Wilkerson and I do. We had Tennessee AD Danny White on this morning. So obviously we had a few things to talk about with Danny White, and had Josh Dobbs on Friday. So we always great line of guests. And then on the local ABC affiliate, part of a sports rotating panel called the Sports Source. Go to sportsourcetv.com and you can see all the segments, episodes I'll be on the next couple of Sundays, so you can check that out. We'll talk about Tennessee and a lot in the college football and basketball landscape going on right now.
Hey, Vince, how's my buddy John Adams doing?
John Adams, great. I used to do radio with John Adams. I don't see him quite as often. When there's big press conferences, we'll see John and we'll have some laughs. But he's contributing a little bit to. He's kind of calling his own shots, so he's doing great. He's a super guy and a legend for sure.
Had a great career for sure.
Yeah,
Vince, we'll do it again next week. Thank you. I'm gonna go back and hear those interviews. Dudley, let them know how they can follow you, and we'll tag out. I got to say something about some of our sponsors, but Dudley, beautiful place to be on a sunny April 16th.
Actually, they play at 12:15. So Dead Sports, DED Sports is my Twitter handle or X handle or Twix handle or whatever they call it. And obviously hogville.net and fearlessfriday.com are the two websites that I contribute to. And I'm about to get off here and go contribute some myself.
I got to get my white glasses on. I got to get my black. Oh, okay, I'm with you. You got your red and red. I got my black and black.
Yeah. I got to get supporting Jimmy Buffett. You know what I've got to do? I've got to go watch smaller Law and Orders. They have a lot of episodes where the basketball coach has a death on campus or something like that. It's always NYU, so I'm going to go check see if this new coach is involved in any of that stuff.
There you go. Check it out. Background check.
Yes.
That's right. All right, Dudley. Go Redbirds. Go Hogs. Hey, all right, let me say something, man. Buddy, great stuff, because I didn't know what to do on that story. Thank you for coming on here.
I'm not sure. I just saw it, and I wanted to pass it along.
Well, but if you say it, again, it's always confirm the sources. So big stuff. And check out the Buddy Martin show tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern on this very same channel. It's a great show. Let me say, if you're looking for a new car, truck, or SUV, and you're out and about, Landers, Ford, Memphis.com. They're open every day of the week except Sunday. The day means more than the dollar, so they take off on Sundays. Shout out to the SAG Big and Tall shop from years ago. Brad Bellamy, the general manager, will work with you on trade-ins. Service department open 7 a.m., 7 p.m. They'll pick you up, provide round-trip transportation, okay? Follow this show, go to Landers, let them know you heard about it. They'll take $500 off. The 25 expeditions are coming in. So get in there, check them out. Huge lot, Poplar and Houston Levee, where Collierville and Memphis meet. And it's the biggest American flag that I know of that flies out there above Landers Fort Worth. If you didn't buy your last vehicle from Landers, you probably paid too much. And they're right down the street from the great folks at Hewlett and Dunn Boot and Clothing Company on the square, historic square in Collierville, Tennessee. You know, you go out there to Hewlett and Dunn and shop. They've got a sale right now, 75% off on some of the winter stuff. Some good-looking women's, really good-looking stuff. All the boots made out of any and everything that you can imagine. Great selection, over 7,000 pairs. The Filson luggage, Barber. The Duckhead polos are in the spring fashions, men and women. They've got boots for kids. Great place. Belts made by the Amish. The great-looking hats. HewlettandDunn.com. They will ship anywhere, open Monday through Saturday, 10 a.m., 6 p.m. Most often we see the face of Christ in the least among us. Remember what Mother Teresa said. We can't all do everything. We can all do something. For executive producer Brenden Martin, God, this was so much fun today. Great show. Watch us all. We'll be on today at 5 p.m. Eastern with AU Undercover. So take care, everybody. Appreciate it.
Bye, y'all.
Bye, y'all.
Y'all. Bye, y'all. Watch
Bye,
our
y'all.
stuff. Watch our stuff.
Watch our stuff
Y'all.
all the time.
Every day. Bye,
Every
y'all.
day.
Every day. I don't know how to turn these things off anymore, Rob.
Okay.